Hello and welcome to the 2018 MLQ Championships. I'm Ethan Sturm alongside Matt Dwyer. We're going to be giving you the call for the first game of the championships, a play-in round game between the Detroit Innovators and the New York Titans.
Now, this is a pretty interesting matchup to me. Detroit has been looking especially strong this season. I think this is probably the strongest Detroit team that we've ever seen in MLQ. And in the meantime, the Titans are coming in a little bit light.
Yeah, the Titans lost some players to cancellations, also some players that just couldn't make the tournament. We're going to need to see what they can bring here. You mentioned this Detroit team, and it wasn't just about qualifying over the Cleveland Rift this season. I'm sorry if that's a bit of a tight hit, but
it's okay.
It's really how competitive they were against two teams that have been Titans in that division for so long, the Indianapolis Intensity and the Rochester Whiteout. That's what makes me hopeful for what they can bring to this tournament.
Absolutely, absolutely. Even though they had a third-place finish in the division, I think that this Detroit team has all the pieces and components to make this an incredibly competitive series, an incredibly competitive championship. For
sure, and this is definitely the most interesting part of the bracket. The one seed in this quadrant of the bracket, the Los Angeles Guardians. I think most people agree they're the most vulnerable of the one seeds. Either of these teams could challenge that team. And that's just suddenly a path to the semifinals. It's a huge accomplishment, something Detroit's never done, and New York hasn't done since the 2015 season.
It's been quite a while. It looks like we have our teams lining up here. We have Matt Melton as our head referee today, Jackson Matheny as our snitch.
Two-time Team USA player as well as Team USA coach Michael Parada starting at beater for New York. We'll see if it's just for the brooms up. He was practicing at the position before the game.
And they're off. Detroit gets the ball. It's J.D. Hopton. He's streaking down the field, gets wrapped up, and he goes down. Good defense there by New York, and they shut that one down pretty quickly.
What you could see right away on that drive by Hopton was the way he tucked that ball in immediately. The conditions are really wet out here. It's dry in the air, but the grass is quite moist, and these balls are going to be wet. Players are going to be tucking rather than keeping the ball out in their free hand. That could affect the style of play throughout the day.
It looks like New York came away with budget control on that one. You have Arancibia coming around the near side, looking for his options, waiting for the beater to pull the trigger. Detroit throws. Arancibia's got a no-bludger situation, dodges around Hopton. He's driving around the outside, and he puts it through, and New York is on the board 10-0.
That was a very calm and collected play there by the Titans, working through Rachel Ayala-Silver, one of their most veteran beaters. Michael Parada, her beater partner, just stayed back, let her work. She drew out the beat. Easy enough goal for Arancibia.
Yeah, Detroit did recover budget control on that one. Jim Richer was able to throw that one down. Now he creates, nope, not a no-budget situation. That's Ayala-Silver keeping it together there. And a big pass over the top allows New York to recover that. That's a wasted offense by Detroit.
Yeah, and Parada will now sub out for Dylan Meehan, a more experienced beater. But he was really doing the bare minimum there, letting Ayala-Silver kind of dominate the play for them. And good first couple possessions here from a New York Titans team that is shorthanded and can't hope to go deep into games trailing.
Arancibia, he gets beat. He has to go across, and it gets bobbled out to Lindsay Morella, and she tries to reset. And that ball is really wet out there. They're having a lot of trouble holding on to it.
Detroit likes this high press, and you can see Titans have very strategically not crossed mid-pitch this entire possession. They let the press come to them, and that way they basically have as many resets as they needed without working into the MLQ half-court reset rule.
That's very correct. It looks like they'll cross now. Arancibia around the top. He passes off to Morella. She passes back. Arancibia looking for his options. Beams it inside. And that's...
Looks like it's skimmed right off the inside of the medium hoop and through. He seems pretty confident about the call. And there you saw a large advantage New York has in a lot of these situations. It is the Team USA chaser, Lindsay Morella. Her ability to play with the ball in her hand, she drew the whole defense over to her, allowed Arancibia to kind of create some space for the mid-range shot. The Titans love that mid-range shot. They hit it there. They get an early 20-0 lead.
That was a pretty good shot, and you know that's something that Detroit will certainly have to watch, especially with a keeper like Preeter, who's big on the hits and he's got long reach, but maybe not as fast as he used to be. If he can't get over to Morella immediately in those types of situations, she's going to score. Hopton on the drive here. He passes across the top to Hannah Katcher, up to Chris Fisher. He tries for the one-handed dunk, didn't go, and New York recovers.
I liked what I saw from that offensive possession there. Is now we're getting a bit of a miscommunication from New York. Dylan Meehan took off in the beater game. His Quaffles players were not there with him, and they're probably just going to have to reset.
Big beat by Jim Richard there. Ended up costing him bludgeon control. Good move by Ayala Silver to maintain that for New York.
Yeah, really a mistake there by Richard. No reason to overextend with bludgeon control and no Quaffle play whatsoever.
Yeah, that could have been an easy tap beat. Meehan was already throwing it back to his hoops. Arancibia around the backside now, looking for his options. J.D. Hopton on point defense. And looks like Arancibia bobbled the ball. Never mind, he comes up with it. He's driving in. He's got one in his way. No big deal. Scores the goal. That's 30-0 New York.
Yeah.
It looks like New York's beaters are helping them out a lot, create some space for Arancibia to move around, and Detroit just really hasn't adjusted to that yet. Despite a very strong beater core, they just haven't seemed to been able to really put the pressure on New York, except save one drive.
Sure, and of course this is a system where you need to win best 2 out of 3 series, and what we're going to be watching for the whole time is how far New York can really push themselves. We've now already seen Michael Parada in at beater and chaser. This is not a team with much beater depth on their sideline right now, and while Rachel Ayala Silver has been playing dominantly so far, how long is she going to be able to take that? Can she play multiple 20-minute games, full games?
Absolutely. It will certainly be a test of skill here. Detroit making some subs. Chris Barnard and Alex Mitchell in the game now. And Barnard will take the ball up center.
Yeah, wonder if they're looking for someone in Barnard with a little bit more range to get out and make a hit on Arancibia before he's too close to the hoops. He was just waiting to draw the contact from Pruder and putting it right through those hoops on the first few drives.
Yeah, I think Barnard's a little lighter on his feet than Pruder, despite being a bigger guy. And he's looking for his options. Pass across to J.D. Hopton. Good play by the New York beaters there to create the pressure, and it looks like Detroit really didn't have anywhere to go there.
Yeah, New York not overextending, and they just keep winning these beater battles. And Barnard really did all he could, which was just the soft reset, kept it in the offensive zone. But Ayala Silver again with a catch there.
Great catch by Ayala Silver on the back there, and good pressure by New York, requiring Detroit to reset. That's Mitchell back to Barnard. And now Barnard's going to go on a run.
Yeah, Detroit traded that reset for bludgeon control.
Mitchell gets blocked as he passes across there. Katcher comes up with the ball.
And it was Arancibia there who got a block on her pass and knocked her to the ground. He'll recover again. He's really been, him and Ayala Silver have been the stories of the game so far.
New York taking it pretty slow here, figuring out their strategy. Detroit seems to be keeping their poise so far. They have bludgeon control back. It's Richard and Enos in for beater at Detroit. Good catch by Meehan. Unfortunately, he gets beat right after. Arancibia around the backside. Good hit by J.D. Hopton. Arancibia still on his feet, still driving. Gets stripped by Katcher, and Barnard comes up with the ball. That was a good play by Katcher there because he pretty much had Hopton beat.
Yeah, very smart play there. I mean, we talked already about how slick this ball is in players' hands. If you can just get a hand on the ball when it's out there like Arancibia was holding it, decent chance it pops right out. I would have liked to see Barnard, though, step up a little higher there because if he had gotten by Katcher, I don't think Barnard would have been able to do anything to stop the goal.
I agree. They have... Detroit has put in John Smutney in place of J.D. Hopton. Normally see Smutney play a keeper role, but I guess he's been playing more chaser in this Major League Quidditch series.
I like the move to go for size, though, because they haven't had an answer for Arancibia in the Quaffle game.
Yep. Barnard driving in. He bits a backhand pass out to Katcher. Surprisingly, it gets to her. Inside to Mitchell. Mitchell blocked point blank by Arancibia.
And only one bludger back. New York was considering running, and if decided against it, their beaters were well out of the play.
Marissa Enos threatening, and
yeah, good composure by her there to basically stop this fast break single-handedly.
Yeah, Meehan destroying the play right here, and it's a no bludger situation. Arancibia again gets a drive, and he loses the handle, and Barnard Does he come up with it? Looks like he does.
Yeah. These Detroit players are just going for Arinsebia's hands at this point. That's the third time the ball's been knocked out of his hands on a drive without a tackle.
And that might be the difference that they needed here. That might be what they needed to stop him.
For sure. I mean, they're sitting right on the edges of snitch range right now, 30-0. Almost 7 minutes into this one. Of course, we have a 20-minute Seeger floor here in Major League Quidditch. But they really need to get something going on the offensive side. They've had the ball close to the hoops with the bludger play kind of in disarray, and they've not been able to put it through.
Wasser now on the near side, passing back to Barnard for Detroit. Barnard across the top to Wasser, and Parada blocks him there, and it looks like he bobbles the ball, and Arencibia comes up with it again.
Yeah.
That was good defense by Parada.
Yeah, Parada long been known for his off-ball quaffle defense. Got up high for that one, shut down Wasser, because he had also blocked the beat from his own beater. So had he not made that play, Wasser was probably in for a goal.
A bit of a give and a bit of a take there.
Yeah, we see Rachel Ayala Silver taking her first sub. Lindsay Morella, who started her career as a beater long ago. This is kind of the situation New York's been forced into by their missing players. She'll return a beater.
That. Yeah. But Morella's an incredible athlete, and I'm sure will perform admirably here. Arencibia looking for his options around the outside. He's been protected by his beater.
And Barnard's now stepped up all the way to play point, and that's the kind of extra flexibility they have by putting some money in, as we get a goal there by the Titans.
That was a great pass across there, and the finish was by Jennifer Livschitz, and this is her first MLQ season. She played for Wizards of Westwood in college, which was the UCLA B team. Now has moved to New York and playing for them, and they're clearly doing well.
Yeah. And I think what's so impressive about what New York's done this so far is they're not relying on, hey, we only have like 7 top players, we're going to run them into the ground. Everybody on this team is contributing right now.
Good pressure by New York here. Wasser gets tackled in the backfield after the reset. They go back to the keeper, and New York will back off. Great pressure by New York. Barnard on the drive there, just runs through Michael Lee, pass off to Smutney, and Detroit is on the board.
Yeah, and that's the biggest change as they've subbed into these deeper lines. This line of Lee and Fernandez doesn't really have the physicality to handle a Smutney or a Barnard driving in the lane.
Having been on the receiving end of those hits, they hurt.
Yeah.
They hurt.
Yeah, but Taylor Crawford can't play all 18 minutes, so they're going to need to get some contributions defensively elsewise.
New York finally taking a keeper sub, and it's Hazlitt in now a keeper. You've got Michael Lee in on the far side. He tries to get fancy, slips, can't get a handle on the ball, and looks like Smutney's on it. He recovers, and
it's interesting to see
Ashley Calhoun helps him out there, and Detroit recovers.
It's interesting to see each new player step onto the field and try to make their first moves and realize what they can't do. We just saw Smutney kind of be put into the ground by Arencibia on a little cut a couple plays ago, and now Lee on his first cut just goes right into the ground.
You got Ayala Silver back in the game for New York at beater. Detroit with bludger control. They're practically, both beaters are practically standing in New York's keeper zone. Barnard passes off to Smutney, inside pass to catcher, and that's a goal in the small hoop. Great pass there.
Yeah, and Hoopengartner's been, I think, the most effective beater we've seen out of Detroit so far. He's been more patient. He basically created that goal without ever throwing a beat. He just backed the beaters back so far that it just gave the offense room to operate.
Absolutely. He's such a clinical beater, and I really enjoy watching him play, especially at the University of Michigan. He maintains bludger control there, puts pressure on Hazlitt, who passes off up top to Lee. Lee, big pass across, intercepted by Barnard. A little bit of sliding there. Fernandez comes up with it, and he bobbles it a little bit, gets beat. Barnard comes up with it now, and he's looking what he can do. He'll just back off.
Yeah, New York's going to have to decide how long they can stick with this line. After a dominant start, 40-0, it's now 40-20, and all the momentum seems to be on Detroit's side.
Barnard bringing it up. He's going to power through. He just crushes Lee again. Passes off to Smutney. Pass was deflected a little bit. He backhands it to Catcher. She gets blocked. And Wasser comes up with the rebound and underhands it in for another goal. Detroit has all the momentum right now.
Yeah, Hazlitt, since subbing in for Arencibia, has not done a good enough job of keeping his eyes on Catcher. She scored the goal last time. She creates the easy assist that time. She seems to be finding her spaces right around the hoops.
Absolutely. It seemed to me like Arancibia was a much more dynamic keeper. Hazlitt seems to be a little more reserved. He's relying a lot more on his receivers to make the plays. Hazlitt drives in now, passing outside to David Hoops, who passes. He thought he had a player there, but it was only Isaiah Silver.
Yeah, that was a bit forced into two bludgers there without really even havoc being created. Rachel Isaiah Silver had already thrown her beat all the way back behind. Hoops was collecting it. And they decided to go anyway, and it cut right into a waiting beat.
Barnard subs out for David Preeter now, and Chris Fisher also subs in for Detroit. Preeter trying to look a little dynamic. Michael Lee keeping him in front of him. He slips a bit.
Preeter unlucky there. That thing was on the inside of the hoop and just kind of stayed there. Never went all the way through.
That's unfortunate. He was back in college at Central Michigan. Preeter definitely hit a lot of mid-range shots, and I think if Detroit, if they can't continue their good passing here, they might have to rely on that. But it seems to be working for them right now.
Yeah, the biggest issue here right now, in terms of mid-range shots, which both teams like to take, is that in these wet conditions, it can be a lot harder to get your shot down, especially in your first game of the day.
Arancibia passes off to Morella. She gets beat immediately, and Smutney's on the drive. And that's an easy goal for Smutney.
And, you know, this is really what we should have been expecting. I mean, Detroit has basically just waited out the storm of New York, let them pour out their energy in those first 10 minutes. They're going to be calling a timeout now. But you see the looks of dejection on those New York faces, and it's only a 40-40 game.
Looks like there was just an equipment malfunction there for the stoppage. Detroit elated. They're running off the bench. They're giving all their teammates high fives. They're getting them water. They're in a really good place right now.
Right. But that's it. I mean, what New York, and it's nice that they're getting this free time out here off of this broken broom. What they really need to be clear about is this game is 40-40. This game is most likely headed towards being a snitch grab game. I mean, we're over 13 minutes in, so the odds of someone getting out of range at this point are not that high. Scores 40-40. We're about to get started again here.
New York taking it slow here, probably for the best. It looks like they've got Hazlitt in at chaser now, so I don't know if Arancibia just plans on playing the rest of the time here at keeper or what. Big misbeat by Meehan there, and it's Enos alone. And Arancibia trying to circle the outside, not really finding what he's looking for. Smutney comes in with some hard contact there. Arancibia gets away, and he's pushed way back. Hoops has the ball now. And Arancibia, looks like we've got an advantage call. Arancibia running down, gets beat, and that'll be a stoppage.
Yeah, we got a stoppage there from the AR, who's trying to get attention, ended up in the middle of the play. Again, Detroit a little bit overextended there, and we're going to see what the call ends up being.
And that'll be a card to Smutney. That's contact from behind. I think when he got the tackle on Hoops there, he didn't fully get in front of the player.
And I really think this switch to Hazlitt at chaser is just trying to match basically what Detroit did with Smutney. This game is all about physicality. The only way people are scoring is putting a hand through the hoop, basically. And if that means putting one of your big, strong keepers in a chaser, that's what you're going to do here.
We'll see if it works out for New York, because if it doesn't, I don't know where you go from here.
Yeah. I mean, this is a bench of only 6 players. This is not a gluttony of options here.
Arancibia was beat on the play. The ball will be turned over to the nearest New York player, who is Hazlitt. He's got Morella open on the far side. Richards poised with the bludger at the hoops, and Morella will back off. Hazlitt will just take the shot and just kill the possession.
And that's what we were just talking about. Hazlitt loves that shot, but nobody's making that shot today, at least until the ground dries up a little bit more.
Michaela May now subbing in for Detroit.
Enos and Richard definitely a better second shift than the first one, where they were where Mian and Isle Silver had really gotten the better of them. Almost 15 minutes in here.
Enos really just trying to protect Preeter here. Hazlitt's just kind of randomly skirting around her.
We'll see if we get a stall call here soon, because he is right behind his beaters.
Hazlitt able to walk through. Enos now just backing him off. They really don't want to throw. Pass over the side to May, back in the middle. Chris Fisher streaking through for the quick catch and dunk.
Yeah. What I've loved about what Detroit's done is they realize that New York, ironically enough, given the talent of their own female chasers, has not been respecting the positioning of the Detroit female chasers. Every play is a pass to a female chaser into a pass to another player.
Yeah, they've been incredible distributors on the outside for that.
Yeah, 100%.
Smutny now back in the game. They've effectively killed the penalty and scored a goal on it, so I guess you're doing pretty well when that happens.
Yeah, not as egregious as giving up a goal without scoring against a beater foul, but still not great.
Parada pass way outside to Arancibia, takes the shot but gets blocked by his own beater.
Yeah, that thing was going right through the hoop.
And it looks like Smutny, he's on a run. Is he going to get taken out? They body him to the outside, but no one can wrap him up. He tries to hand it across to Fisher and gets blocked at the hoops.
Yeah.
And looks like we'll have a stoppage there.
Smutny was a bit of a runaway train there. I think if he just kind of slowed it down, he would have seen better options. Just tried to force it a little too much.
Yeah, he definitely could have. I think if he would have passed it across sooner rather than running into all three chaser defenders on the right side, then he would have had that goal.
For sure.
That was a super unlucky play by New York there. Aya Silver went to get the bludger control and just walked right in front of the small hoop when Arancibia shot and just completely blocked the goal for her own team.
Yeah. And that would have stopped what is a 50-0 run right now for Detroit after going behind 40-0. So Smutny is back in the box for an illegal swat on a bludger. This is a blue card, though, so he won't be picking up a second yellow. And also in MLQ, a second yellow is not an automatic red card. You need 3 yellows before you pick up your red card. So the ball and bludger control, no, bludger control won't go to New York, only the quaffle.
Parada now ball handling for New York. He's coming up center, directing the offense. Arancibia out wide right, Hazlitt out wide left. Parada looking for the feed, passes across to Arancibia. And Arancibia makes the goal. Good job there. Got around Chris Fisher and scored.
Yeah, Arancibia continues to be the real only offensive option for this New York team.
And that ends a scoring drought of 5 goals from Detroit.
Yep. And really kind of stabilizes this game 50-50, under 4 minutes away from snitch on pitch. This one's most likely being decided by a snitch grab.
Preeter pass on the inside to Alex Mitchell. He puts it back out to Russell. Richard and Enos for Detroit really compressing the New York defense.
Russell, another one of those physical chasers on this Detroit squad, but one we haven't seen too much so far in this game.
Russell driving, blocked right at the hoops by Arancibia. Seemed like a pretty obvious shot.
Yeah. Arancibia with that classic standing behind the hoop. His entire body was through that hoop. I don't think a ball could have gotten through it if it tried. So now we get New York's timeout. Both teams now use their one timeout that you get in Major League Quidditch. You have to use it before the 20-minute mark when snitch is released, or you can't use it at all.
If you're New York in the huddle, what do you think you're talking about right now? What is Parada telling his team?
I mean, I think you're just planning for what you're doing snitch on pitch at this point. Who your secrets are you rotating? Who your beaters are you going to 2-male? Are you sticking with your combinations? I see no reason New York would go to 2-male. I think Rachel Isle Silver's been by far their best beater in this game.
Absolutely.
Because, again, I don't think anybody's pulling off a plus 40 run here in the next 3 minutes to get out of range before the snitch comes on pitch.
I don't think so either. And on Detroit's side of things, I think they're probably telling each other that, hey, just keep it up, keep doing what you've been doing. I don't know if they would be as focused on the snitch on pitch game right now. I think they're probably pretty high on their big run that they've had. That's somewhere that I think that Detroit could lose it.
Right. I mean, I think it's also going to be they need to figure out what they're doing against Arancibia with snitch on pitch. Of all the beaters in the quaffle game, they have not tackled him, I think, this entire game. They've swatted the ball out of his hands a few times. But if he's just going to be a force just running through scoring points, things could get out of hand pretty quickly once the snitch is on pitch.
Absolutely, they're definitely going to have to put big bodies on Arinsibia. I wouldn't be surprised if they put in some bigger hitters right when snitch comes on pitch. You see that same lineup with Barnard, Wasser, Smutny, and Katcher.
Yeah. It's kind of telling just of the depth and the number of subs these teams have. Detroit's all ready. They have a Seeker and a yellow headband already. No yellow headband anywhere to be seen so far on the New York sideline.
I think it might be Seeker by committee for them. I don't know.
Definitely nobody right now on this roster who has a long history in a seeking game.
Arinsibia will bring it up for New York. Detroit with bludger control. It's Richard and Enos. They've been relatively effective later on in this game. Didn't start out that way, but have found their footing here. Good catch by Meehan, and he creates a bludgerless situation. Arinsibia across the top. Bounces off the hoop there, unfortunately. Morella comes up with it. Arinsibia goes for the goal, gets beat before. Great play, though. Ooh. And then the follow-up play by Crawford also misses. But that was a good, relatively good offense by New York.
Yeah, good movement. Morella floated past a little bit too much to Arinsibia, gave too much time for the beater to get there. You could argue the play should have stopped there. He moved a lot after being beat. Play did continue, and just a missed shot there from Crawford, who's not known for his mid-range shot.
Yeah, that was kind of a misplay there by Detroit's Enos. She went for bludger control instead of stopping the goal and gave New York a chance there. Preeter at the top of the key looking for the push pass over to May. The beat misses. May gets blocked by Arinsibia. And that's a good play there. They finally shut down one of Detroit's female chasers on the backside.
As we close out in 20 minutes, we just want to make sure you know that on your overlay, there is a clock. It is not an official clock. It could be up to 20 seconds off. So if it hits 20 minutes and the snitch isn't on the field, the referees aren't messing up by any means. It's just our clock that ended up a little bit off. Seekers have been called, though, which would make that the 18-minute mark. We're at 18:22 on our clock.
And it looks like for Seeker, J.D. Hopton for Detroit, and Fernandez for New York. Yep, Arinsibia brings it around the near side now.
Yeah, Ben Fernandez, long-time member of the Macaulay Marauders down in New York City.
Arinsibia spins out of a tackle. Big pass across, and looks like Preeter comes up with the ball there, and Detroit will take it easy as New York has bludger control.
Yeah, again, this offensive possession isn't even really about scoring. It's about getting bludger control back because it's probably going to be their last offensive possession before Seekers are released.
Yeah, and just as predicted, Detroit puts in a beefier line. You've got Barnard, Russell, Mitchell, and Katcher in a chaser, and the Calhoun-Hoopengarner combination at beater. New York sticking with Arinsibia at keeper. Barnard tries for a push pass inside. Doesn't work. Arinsibia comes up with it.
Bludger control does go over the Titans. Detroit had gained bludger control and kind of overstays their welcome in the beater game. Again, that goal is not worth bludger control at this point.
Really was not, especially with Snitch about to be on pitch. Arinsibia looking for his options. He's got Crawford coming around the backside. Still looking for it. Crawford still circling. He's got Morella waiting for the pick.
I like the idea of running 1.5 here, but they're going to get caught in a situation where the Snitch is going to be released and Dylan Meehan's going to be nowhere near his bludger.
Yeah, they've just realized that. Maybe they heard you. They throw it up to him. Hopton's going to go for a quick run at it. He's a little bit faster than Fernandez. Yeah. And he gets beaten. New York will have some alone time here.
Yeah, it doesn't cost New York anything, but Hopton basically did get one free shot he shouldn't have just by Meehan's late return.
Arinsibia on a run. He's missed a few tackles. Russell just pounds him into the ground there. He gets a pass off. Crawford bobbles it. Katcher comes up. Katcher's on a run down the field now. And it looks like she'll hold up as she realizes New York has bludger control.
Yeah, that's that physicality we said that Detroit was going to try to build into their snitch on pitch game. They finally get a good tackle on Arinsibia.
Yeah, that was a great hit by Russell there. New York being relatively protective. Almost gets a snitch there. Fernandez, he dodged that beat. Incredible.
I'm not sure he did, but he did at least not get called for it.
It was hard to tell from this angle.
For sure.
And Detroit's doing a little better job now of getting Fernandez away from the snitch. He's had the most alone time, I think.
Yeah, Detroit's finally creating some alone time here with a little bit of a bubble. Meehan's going to need a beat here, and he does just take the safe option and beat off the Seeker. Meanwhile, in the quaffle game, we have a pile up. Wasser at the bottom of it. But I'm not sure either team is really in that much of a rush to break up this pile.
They're really not. I think they're going to try and stall out and hope they can get their seeker some time. Detroit has now subbed in Tafika Boss, who's got some quick hands. He's caught a lot of snitches for them this season.
Meanwhile, Eric Wasser tries some kind of a basketball free throw and misses the hoop entirely.
Am I allowed to make fun of him for that?
Of course.
Yeah. Ooh. A good catch by Fernandez, but maybe. He's off his broom. He came around with the other hand as well.
Snitch immediately ruled it a not clean catch. Whether that's because he thinks that he restricted him with two hands, which didn't seem to be the case from my view, or he just thought he was off broom, which definitely could have been the case because that broom is pretty far from his body. And that's going to be the call.
Yeah. A good run in by Fernandez. Way to catch the snitch off guard, but he's got to stay on the broom there.
Yeah, it's a bang-bang situation. That call could have gone either way. You can't really blame anybody. Snitch seems pretty confident in the call. Oh, by immediate camera angle, we see that you can't see it, but we're looking at it right now. He was well off his broom before the hand got anywhere near the sock.
Good snag there by the photography team. All right, looks like two bludgers are down right now. Jim Richard for Detroit holding the sole bludger that's being possessed. New York has quaffle possession at the backside of their hoops.
Yeah, Detroit has already made their first seeker sub of the game. New York still doesn't have any other yellow headbands on their sideline, so this might be Ben Fernandez's game.
And play restarts here. New York will take it up slow. Michael Parada in at beater now, playing snitch on pitch. They've gone double male, Parada and Sabate.
Beater's missing everybody here, so it's just two free seekers running around. Finally, Sabid cleans it up.
Hazlitt passes off to, I think, who is that now?
He passed over.
That's Michael Lee, and Michael Lee gets the goal there. That was a pretty good goal by Michael Lee.
His first goal since snitch on pitch. It's now a 60-50 game in favor of New York.
Detroit with bludger control. They've got both beaters on the snitch.
Barnard, no rush here, even against the no bludger situation.
Yeah, Barnard can just run this through. We've already seen him do it. He passes outside to Wasser. Wasser jukes inside to Smutney for a quick goal. That was a great play.
Yeah, and this is what we really should be seeing in the qualifier game. Just a lot of exchange points as we now get to 60-60. Game one here of the MLQ Championships. Play-in round between the Titans and the Innovators is the best 2 out of 3 series. The winner of here will not clinch a spot. They will have to come back and play game 2 in a couple hours.
And I think Barnard's going to get a call for a defenseless receiver there. It seemed pretty close to me.
I agree. I thought that she had time to handle that ball and brace for the hit. If the call is defensive receiver, that is an automatic red card. That will shift a lot of what's going on here in the quaffle game. Because not only will Detroit be down a player for 2 minutes, they'll be down Chris Barnard, probably their most physical player.
Absolutely. That is, oh man, that would be a huge detriment to Detroit's offense right now. Although, you know, they weren't really capitalizing on it the past few minutes. They really could have just had Barnard run it down their throats as the beaters were focusing on the snitch game, but that wasn't really the case. I guess they were, I don't know, maybe trying to avoid the transition goal.
Yeah, it's less concern about really what they can do offensively and more not letting New York suddenly run up the score on them.
Certainly.
A long discussion here by the referees. We're on the field giving some advice to his players.
Probably telling Smutney right now, all right, if you have to go in at keeper, here's what you got to do.
We did miss seeker subs on both sides. Ben Fernandez takes his first sub. JC and Sebia, kind of the star of the game so far for New York. Band.
Yeah, and you've got David Hoops in at keeper. And looks like that'll be a yellow card on Barnard. Contact from behind. Probably the best he could have come up with in this situation.
Yeah, I think that was a kind of a, we didn't really want to give the red card for that hit. So here's kind of the compromise.
Yeah.
He will spend a minute in the box, and Morella should have a very clear path to goal.
Yeah, she's got both Lee and Livschitz there for her to help her out, and Hazlitt at the top of the key. Yeah. Drives right at catcher, pass to Lee, blocked by Smutny. Great read by Smutny.
And the awareness, he just donned the green headband. He took it from Barnard, and he goes right through that hoop to make the stop.
Absolutely. In the regular season for Grand Valley State, Smutny does play keeper. He plays big minutes for them, and he's a pretty good defensive player. And Detroit now with bludger control. And looks like we've got another stoppage here. An illegal swat by the seeker. Arancibia. That, well, I think probably the worst thing to do in a snitch range game is get your seeker a card.
I agree.
Our video's dead. Just mention it quickly.
1 minute out. We'll see if Detroit might not try to score here for the next minute.
We seem to be having some video difficulties. We apologize for that. We're working to get it fixed.
We apologize, our camera's down for a second. We'll kind of give you the radio broadcast version here. We do get a quick goal from Detroit, which will release the seeker again for New York. And a stoppage in play.
Seemed to be a lot of confusion there from New York, and Detroit just kind of walked that in. I have no idea what New York was thinking there. I think they were looking for some foul and didn't get it. I don't know. They were all standing still.
There was a hand in the air from assistant ref there.
We should have video back up in a minute.
Video hopefully be back up in time for the end of the stoppage in play. Looks like it might be going up right now. But the scoreboard is accurate. And we are back live. We apologize again for the delay. As the day goes on, we'll kind of settle in.
The referee's having a pretty long discussion here. I'm not quite sure what they're discussing. New York currently with the ball, and Detroit with bludger control. Again, Jim Richard holding the only possessed bludger. There's one at the Detroit hoops, and there's another near the snitch.
Doesn't seem like there's going to be a call when all is said and done here.
Yeah, they're really checking.
Score 70-60 in favor of Detroit after that goal. Though I think New York was happy to concede it, as it did release their seeker.
And it looks like Chris Barnard will be about to be back into the game momentarily here for Detroit. Hazlitt bringing it up the field for New York now. New York giving their seeker some time. Hazlitt way over the top, passes to Michael Lee, and he scores.
It ties it back up at 70 as we get another stoppage in play.
Is that a potential catch there?
Looks like it. JC Arancibia is holding on to the sock. Score is 70-70. A catch would make a 170 final in favor of New York.
More referee discussion here. And it looks like the head referee has taken the snitch sock back from Arancibia.
Long discussion here.
It's been quite a storied game thus far. This has been pretty interesting. New York coming out early to a 40-0 run, making Detroit look disorganized. And Detroit takes a timeout and then goes on a 50-0 run and just utterly dominates New York. And now they've been trading back and forth. And it looks like there was a no catch called. The snitch uniform was pulled, negating the catch.
So the game will continue. And yeah, as you said, it's just been kind of these teams adjusting to each other throughout this game. And what's exciting about the kind of this best 2 out of 3 format is we're going to get to continue to watch them adjust to each other as Game 2 and maybe even Game 3 goes forward.
I definitely like that format a lot. I think that's one of the biggest things in this sport you can do is learn how to adjust to teams. New York holding bludger control now, giving their seeker all the time. It's Arancibia still. Detroit trying to get the beat on. They're now bludgerless. We'll see if New York ever wants the pressure, but probably not.
Yeah, Taylor Crawford now in a beater for New York. I think just about every male player on this roster, besides perhaps Arancibia and Hazlitt, has come in a beater at this point.
Wasser leisurely walking it in. And looks like another maybe catch here.
I think this one might have just been everybody falling to the ground. Yeah, we're having problems apparently with the snitch shorts. We're going to switch out some new ones.
And as we fix our shorts here, seems to be doing okay. And Detroit just kind of walked into the keeper zone here. Catcher has the ball behind the hoops. She's got Wasser and Smutney and Barnard. Catcher gets whipped around, stays on her feet. She's still looking. Big pass over the top, scooped up by Barnard. He looks pretty leisurely here. That was the laziest play I've ever seen.
Yeah, Mike Lee was not stopping him there. Catcher, facing some really well-played defense from Hazlitt, was able to float a pass just over Lee. And once Barnard had in that no-budget situation, things were pretty much over.
He just posted him up and laid it in like nothing.
Yep.
Wasser on defense here, and Hazlitt will pass off, and he receives it back.
El Silver's now joined the chaser game with that 2-male beater set. Now all of their female players need to be committed to the chaser game because they just do not have that many.
That's a nice hard shot there from Michael Lee, but looks like that didn't go through, but New York will get that one back. Yeah, that was a bludger swat from Arancibia. Perhaps the referee saw that one. Detroit wasn't happy about that.
No, they were not. The second card would be a big deal, especially if it was yellow. Of course, it's only a second, so he would not be serving out a red card yet. But still, another minute in the box would be pretty game-changing here.
Both teams giving their seeker an okay amount of time with the snitch, really going back and forth with bludger control and with time alone. No one getting a particularly good look here. We've gotten a few close calls, but nothing yet.
Give me 1 second. You can keep talking.
And it looks like that will be a second yellow card for Arancibia, which is, man, that's brutal, having 2 seeker cards in the course of the seeker game. And he'll spend another minute in the box or until Detroit scores. That's really rough here. So now it's just going to be up to Detroit's beaters to be able to maintain control and give Jim Richards some time with the snitch to try and pull. The quaffle will start with New York. It's Morella on the far side. Detroit has just about every player between her and the goal, so unless Michael Lee's going to do something crazy here, it's doubtful that that they're going to do anything too fast.
Referee clarifying the reset rules here, and play continues. Barnard looking to run it against no bludgers.
Now he's going to go completely uncontested.
Yeah, New York wanted to give them that goal so they could get seeker again. But at this point, it is 90-70.
Hazlitt coming up the near side here. It's Wasser on defense. Catcher on backup.
It's suddenly a big quaffle possession for New York. If they don't get a goal here, Detroit could get up 30. But Fernandez has a catch. And both the referee and snitch seemed pretty confident it was good. A catch here would be at 190. New York win.
Fernandez seemed really hyped about that one. I think he knew it was a good one. And it was! And first game is taken by New York.
And you got to question Detroit's decision-making. Fernandez literally would not have been on the pitch if they just hadn't scored a goal and just let the 1 minute of that penalty run out. They score the goal. Aaron Tibby immediately subs out for Fernandez. Fernandez immediately catches, and that's the game.
Yeah, I think they got a little bit over-eager there, which is strange to me because earlier in the game they were doing a very good job of keeping their patience, you know, taking their time and allowing New York to do whatever they pleased on defense in order to try and get more time with the snitch.
All right, so that's our game one here. Detroit Innovators fall to the New York Titans, 109.